Go on, you're desperate to do it.
Greetings, Steel fans. Not half.
Not half. Hello, Steelers. Welcome to Lard Island.
Yeah, hello, Steelers, and welcome to Lard Island. I've been very nicely invited down by these two idiots to come down and play a couple of Chain of Command games today. We've already done one, haven't we? And what I want to talk to you both about is what have we done, why have we done it, and is there any legs in First World War gaming? I mean, I already know this, I know the answer to it, but I want to know what you two think about it and what your thoughts are on it, because people probably listen to you more than they listen to me.
I doubt that.
So, Rich, you set the game up, so explain to us what we're doing and what we've done and where it's come from.
Well, folks, it's not this game, because this is the second game we're going to do.
This is going to be another video.
This is set in Burma. Yeah, we played this morning, we played a British platoon attack on a German defensive position, 2 machine gun bunkers with interlocking fields of fire, so quite a difficult position to take with incomplete barbed wire at the front. Effectively what we tried to do was to take it away from the mud and the blood and play it in open countryside, more open countryside, because we're looking at the 100 Days campaign of 1918 where the British are advancing, and really we just wanted to try out the idea of a vanilla platoon attacking a German defensive position that's only partially complete. The barbed wire covering the front hasn't been completed, so the British have outrun their artillery, but they're making an opportunist attack to try and take this out with the platoon that's there. Really just in order to test a few game concepts and see what we thought with it. And it was interesting because the Germans had the opportunity for some SOS fire from artillery on their positions, and also had an opportunity to call up reinforcements in Eingreif unit who are there to counter-attack once the British are in the German lines. So just to really test the principles of how we would get on with using Chain of Command for that. Now I know you've used Chain of Command with some of the amendments, but really just looking, rather than doing that mishmash of Through the Mud and the Blood and Chain of Command, how would we actually go about it from blank sheet of paper and run it with Chain of Command? So just a few ideas that I chucked in there, some of which worked, some of which didn't. But
that's playtesting.
But that's playtesting for you, yeah, absolutely.
And where did the idea come from then? I mean, because you've already got Through the Mud and the Blood as a game, which you know, people who's watched my videos will know I've played a lot of, and I'm a big fan of. And it was a pre-Chain of Command game, wasn't it? Anyway, Chain of Command kind of came out of the back of that, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah,
is that correct?
they all feed off each other really. So what happened when we produced Through the Mud and the Blood? We had some people say, "Hey, wouldn't it be great if you could do a World War II version of it?" So we thought, okay, yeah, let's. And we actually then kicked off and said, right, rather than saying let's take Through the Mud and the Blood and devise a World War II game, we said let's devise a World War II game. How are we going to go about that? And that then developed into Chain of Command, which of course is quite different in many ways, but nevertheless the DNA is in there. So we thought, well, how about now if we go the other way and we take Chain of Command, and how would we apply that to the First World War? And you know what we saw today, some very different ideas coming in there, because I don't really believe that, you know, it's not one size fits all. So you know, it's just because a set of rules good for World War II doesn't mean it's going to work for World War I. So we tried to introduce some new ideas. So.
Well, you've got different doctrine as well. You've got slightly different structures. So you're fighting with a British platoon. The British platoon you had this morning, 4 sections, very different to World War II British platoon. Also the weapons are different, the off-table support options are different. The whole thing means that you can't quite take the same model and just apply it and expect to get the same result.
No, it doesn't work like that at all, does it? I mean, you played the Germans this morning, didn't you, Nick?
I did.
And I think right towards the end, you managed to get your support squad in, and I think they bugged up my very end plans. I got one of your bunkers the second I was working on, but you managed to get to before me, and I think
literally you were 20 yards short when he turned up and gunned you down.
Yeah, he did. How did you find the game this morning?
Well, I think what yours
was a static defence, wasn't it?
Yes. So you're giving the British player in that situation more of a tactical exercise
about
how do you attack that position with 2 bunkers. For the Germans, you're sitting in a bunker, you're firing the machine gun. All the while that bit's going on, there's not much to think about. You just activate when you can.
Yeah.
So the challenge was fairly one-sided in that particular game.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have to go very far from that to actually see how you'd challenge both players with some decision making.
It's a starting point, isn't it, really, for exploring the game a bit more, I think.
Yeah, what I wanted to do was to create almost an AI controlling the Germans, and in the absence of any artificial intelligence, I thought we'd try and find any intelligence that was residual in his head, and we could use that.
Out, don't worry. I won't.
No.
But so then, going on from that, as a wider question, First World War is kind of coming back into fashion a little bit, I think, in wargaming, a little bit. But there's always been a thing about the First World War is that people always say you can't really play it, and I've heard it umpteen times. People say you can't play it on the Western Front apart from August of 1914, basically, or the Eastern Front where there's more manoeuvre and things. I mean, what do you think of that from a point of view as wargaming?
I think people who say that are showing their ignorance. I think people say that because that's the story we were all sold with Wilfred Owen and so on and so forth, and to be fair, whilst everybody loves the programme and thinks it's hilarious, Blackadder is not a piece of historical documentary.
Certainly not history,
and I know that in academic circles it was felt that Blackadder had put the study of the Great War back 20 years rather than going forward. And so it's that there are a lot of myths, if you like. We hear about there's a lot of things in wargaming that are myth based on mantras that are parroted, and it's simply not true. But so I'm not surprised a lot of people say that, but I think it puts people off investigating further, and then without investigating further, you then fall victim to parroting the same myth because that's what everybody knows.
Today we played it at the platoon level. There's things you can learn about what happened at platoon level, and you can do that early war through to late war. We played it at brigade level, certainly. If the Lord spares us, is a brigade level game for World War One, set in the Middle East instead of not for Western Front, but a really rich tapestry of ideas and scenarios for different types of games. Yes, you do have cavalry out there. You have cavalry in the First World War. And armoured cars and tanks, and in fact you could have all those in the same action. And we've done it at the grand tactical level and strategic level. We've done logistic-based Kriegspiels as well, so you could wargame the First World War at any level exactly the same way as you could anything. And in fact we've done Algae, of course, in the air. Which is a real fun game too.
Super sexy, isn't it? That First World War aerial gaming.
I think aerial gaming is probably one that the most people know of.
Red Baron, isn't it? We all love the film. We all love the film.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't see people playing the observation aircraft, which are doing the backbone of the work, are they? Really?
No,
they want to be the fighters,
Well, that tends to be the case, and you often see that ME 109 versus a Spitfire, when in fact some of the best games I've had with a Bagnahan have been flying Blenheims attacking coastal shipping. Just really interesting, something different. And when we've been play testing Watterfokker, certainly those games were really focused. The missions were based on the aircraft are there to do a job of work. What are they there to do? It could be they're acting as spotters for. It could be they're acting as spotters for artillery. It could be that they're taking aerial photographs. So those are the scenarios that we got as the core of Watterfokker when we developed that forward. God knows when that'll be, but when we do, that's the way we worked it. Because
next on the list,
the idea of the idea of that Dawn Patrol Brits fighting Jerrys is not what it was really all about.
That's the exception, not the rule.
Very much
so. It's about the observation aircraft and the bombers and things. And your two fat Lardies, you guys have got basically got from platoon level up to. What is if the Lord spares us?
So if the Lord spares us, it's brigade level. So typically
you could quite easily push it up if you wanted.
So the smallest unit in that is a company. So you've got normally a battalion of 4 companies and then 4 battalions in a brigade. So on a 6x4 table, you're fighting with probably about 4 battalions, support artillery, some cavalry, machine gun positions, and because it's set for either use in Africa or in Mesopotamia or in Palestine, you're generally fighting British colonial troops,
Yeah.
and the opposition could be Germans or could be Turks. I mean, Turks
Yeah.
a really interesting army in the First World War.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do a great
Probably
account.
very unexplored as well.
Yeah, and then again, you can
do.
do Anzacs at Gallipoli. You know, we've done trench raids. In fact, we've done Hellas, and we on Gallipoli. So you can do a classic sort of First World War trench to trench assault with the pre-bombardment that goes with that.
Yeah, all your combined arms fitting in there as that.
Yeah, or you can do armoured cars racing across the desert and shooting up Lawrence of Arabia. You know, it all fits in there.
And I guess doing a desert game as well, you don't need a great deal of terrain either.
No, you
don't
don't.
really, just a few palm trees and a sand mat.
Yeah.
But I guess that's probably one of the things as well that puts a lot of people off is the idea of having trenches. But today, in the game today, you've basically built 2 trenches in the last couple of days, haven't you, before today's game, and they don't take
plate of biscuits,
space storage, and they look the part, and they don't stand up like the normal trenches in wargames that you see.
I think again,
the footprint of them is pretty good.
This is about the misconceptions of the First World War, isn't it? Everybody thinks that it's a line of trenches all the way from the Channel to the Swiss border, and it's continuous trenches the whole way. And 1916, 1917, things had changed completely. There's colossal changes in doctrine, colossal changes in offensive doctrine for the British, French, but also colossal changes in defensive doctrine for the Germans, where they're looking at by Third Ypres. They're looking to establish interlocking fields of fire with individual bunkers. So I did 2 bunkers. I did a large one, which basically was at the end of about 18 inches of access trench, which is crenellated like the classic trench you get, and another small one. Which
so
is
the range is 0 to 9 inches. So you close range. So you roll.
The idea
8
is that
dice
these are
hitting on
individual
8 dice hitting on
points,
4
stellums, which are there to provide mutual support. They're not. It's not a
Two
line of trench, so you don't actually need to have huge tables with loads of trenches on. You can just have these interlocking bunkers, and if you didn't want to bother putting the communications trench on, it's just a rectangular lump of polystyrene with a bit of grey paint.
I've done it in 50 with plastic card.
Well, this morning we fought it actually on a 6x4, but the trenches were on the narrow side. So you could have probably done it on a 4x4 table.
Quite easy, where the action came in, definitely,
But the interlocking fields of fire gave a really interesting game because it's a real tough nut to crack. How do you, with a British infantry platoon, assault that position?
Yeah, well, I certainly did it all right with one, I think. The second one not so well, but we kind of ended the game at that point because I think it would have been impossible for me to push forward at that point. And but from my point of view, it gave a great game, and obviously, a couple of bits need tidying up, but that's the process.
But did it give you a challenge for the little grey cells up there about
it certainly did, yes, absolutely, and that's for me, that's what I want from a game anyway.
Well, the interesting thing was that in order to achieve what you achieved, you used a good mix of fire and movement. It's not just run about or shoot a lot. It was a case of combining covering fire with fire for effect, with movement, with tactical movement. You have to choose the right tool for the right job at that particular moment.
Is there an award here for the best
just
pre-programmed
advance in a homogeneous fashion across the table. You've got to do what's right. You are going to get mowed down, So you take your breaks when your breaks come, and at other times you utilise those techniques to keep the enemy's head down, to stop them firing, or to fire.
If you want to put your clothes on the
to move in a manner that's appropriate for circumstances, and that really came through and worked, and I think that was important to see. It was not 2 bunkers mowing you down and you attempting to march into it in a sort of lines led by donkeys fashion, because that ain't how it works.
Well, I want to come in there because you said about you choose the right tool for the right job. War games are a bit like that. You choose the right set of rules that's going to give you the feel for the game that you want.
Not ours.
You can choose to have research light or research heavy. We can play Space Marines versus whatever, or we can go very deep historical. It's whatever you want to play. There's something there for you to find.
But I, just to wrap up there, I think First World War wargaming is great wargaming.
Oh, very good. Very good. He's worth the money, folks. Subscribe and like and comment on that.
Yeah.